Hello and welcome to Safe Pasture. I am Sherry Hammers and I'm glad you're joining me today as we delve a little deeper into the Altar of Incense, also known as the Golden Altar, in the Tabernacle. Last time we were talking about making sure that we have checked our hearts thoroughly before we go to the Altar of Incense, because the Altar of Incense is the place of praise and worship and prayer to God. And I was just getting into it. I didn't want to run over time. I like to respect your time because I appreciate you coming. So thank you. And I don't want to take it longer than might be expected. So I was talking last time about Jesus saying to Nicodemus, "You must be born again." I want to finish up that before we get into the golden altar, because I was talking about we need to look at all of the places within this tabernacle because they're all interrelated. So just to kind of give you a little summary of what we ended on last time, let's do a heart inventory, because when we go to the lampstand and then to the table of showbread, this is about our heart. The lampstand is about being sanctified and getting out the things of darkness, of sin. And then the table of showbread is filling ourselves and building ourselves up on the things of God. So just to recap a little bit, just ask yourself, have I really come through the gate? Have I gotten truly born again? Have I been to the altar of burnt offering? Have I truly repented of the things and the crimes that I've done against God? Does my life have some kind of earmark or fruit of a relationship with God? Am I into the Word? Is it my daily sustenance? Jesus said, "Man does not live on bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God." Are you living on that word, or are you just kind of hoping you get a little meal once a month and you're just kind of skimming by hoping that, you'll make it somehow? This is daily bread. We have to have it every single day. Do you have a growing relationship with God? Is God speaking to you? Are you training yourself to hear His voice, that still small voice that we think about in Psalm 46, that voice that says, "Be still and know that I am God." The holy place, the place where the lampstand and the table of showbread and the golden altar, the altar of incense, it's an intimate place with God. If you recall back in the day that the tabernacle was physically being operated by the Levitical priesthood, this holy place that we're talking about was off limits to the people. Only the priests could go into the holy place and minister there. But Jesus has opened this up for us to have access to God, to have a relationship with God. And each one of these steps is extremely important. I'd like to go now to Exodus 37:29, and it says there that, and there's a man named, if I don't butcher it, Bezalel. He was a man that was gifted in making incense and fragrances. And it says in verse 29, "And he made the holy anointing oil and the purest incense of sweet spices, according to the work of the apothecary." And we know about Bezalel in other scriptures, but I looked at the pulpit commentary to get a little bit more information. And so this same man is the one that made the ark, the one that was in the holiest, the Holy of Holies. And it said there, "The particular maker of the various parts and contents of the tabernacle is not elsewhere pointed out. Thus this mention of Bezalel is emphatic and seems intended to mark the employment of the highest artistic skill on that which was the most precious of all objects connected with the new construction." So in other words, this man, this artisan of oils and sweet spices and incense, he was at the top of his game. He was a master. And so he was the man for the job to make the most precious of all objects, the ark. So this is the same man that made the incense. And the reason we're zeroing in on that is the incense is the focus of the golden altar, or the altar of incense. Now I'd like to read kind of a longer passage out of Revelation 9, and then I'm going to zero in on just one verse of that, because I want you to see where in Revelation the golden altar is referenced. And it says, starting in verse 13, "And the sixth angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar which is before God, saying to the sixth angel which had the trumpet, Loose the four angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates. And the four angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year, for to slay the third part of men. And the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000, and I heard the number of them. And thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire and of jacinth and brimstone, and the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions, and out of their mouths issued fire and smoke and brimstone. By these three was the third part of men killed, by the fire, and by the smoke, and by the brimstone which issued out of their mouths. For their power is in their mouth, and in their tails. For their tails were like unto serpents, and had heads, and with them they do hurt. And the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues, yet repented not of the works of their hands, that they should not worship devils and idols of gold and silver and brass and stone and of wood, which neither can see nor hear nor walk. Neither repented they of their murders, nor of their sorceries, nor of their fornication, nor of their thefts." So I want to go back now to the first verse. I just wanted you to see how the golden altar is just like an integral part of that whole scene that's playing out. And it's, the verse 13 says, "And the sixth angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar which is before God." Now, when I went to research this, I found that commentators were it was kind of a mixed bag on what they thought was the altar reference, even though it says a golden altar. And I'll read these to you and let you decide. I think their commentary is interesting, even if they don't all agree. But Matthew Poole's commentary says, "That is from God. I heard him give a command which voice is said to have proceeded from the golden altar, because there God received the prayers of his people. And this voice proceeding from that place might signify the following judgment to come, in answer to the prayers of his servants' souls from thence crying to him for vengeance." So he's saying, yes, this is the golden altar because judgment is about to come, and it was signifying that the prayers of the saints had come to God for vengeance. And then the pulpit commentary says, "Many commentators lay special stress upon it, and some represent the horns as the four gospels which speak with one voice. The voice issues from the altar, as in Revelation 6:10 and 16:7. The voice, issuing from the resting place of the souls of the martyrs, denounces the impending woe. The altar is the golden altar of incense, which is before the throne of God, and which in the earthly temple stood before the veil." So that one sounds like the golden altar of incense that we're talking about too. That one, I guess they're saying that is the golden altar. But then when we get to Revelation 6, it's Revelation 6 altar reference that they are a little disputing about. But as you can see, they're saying that the souls, I guess where the dispute comes, and you'll see here in a minute, but where the dispute comes is that some people think the voices are those souls under the altar that are speaking out and asking God, which are prayers. So that's why it's golden altar. But then other people are saying, but they're the saints that were slain and they're crying out for vengeance. So that couldn't be the golden altar. It had to be the altar of burnt offering. But I'll let them speak to that. This is Revelation 6, verses 9 and 10. And it says, "And when he had opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of them that were slain for the word of God and for the testimony which they held. And they cried with a loud voice, saying, How long, O Lord, holy and true, dost thou not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth?" Now, pulpit commentary said, that I saw under the altar, he said, this representation is doubtless suggested by the arrangements of the temple. Victims were sacrificed on the brazen altar which stood at the door of the tabernacle, and the blood was poured out at the foot of this altar. The martyrs are therefore regarded as having offered themselves as sacrifices upon the altar of God by yielding up their lives for him. So I just want to make clear, the one in Revelation 9 they were saying is the golden altar, but the one in Revelation 6 is the one that they're disputing about. But it says that Paul used a similar figure concerning himself, because in 2 Timothy 4:6 he says, "For I am now ready to be offered to pour out as a libation, and I am now ready to be offered." Okay, and the time of my departure is at hand. And then in Philippians 2:17, "If I be offered upon the sacrifice and service of your faith." So a couple of different commentators that are mentioned here, they understand the golden altar of incense and consider that the figure is representative of hearing the martyr's prayer. So see, it's getting kind of fuzzy. I don't mean to bring something to you to confuse you. I'm just wanting you to see how these two altars are both talked about in Revelation. They're not Old Testament relics that we just throw away. This is still relevant because remember that Moses did a pattern. God gave him the pattern of what is in heaven. And in Revelations, you reveal. The word Revelations, the name of the book means to reveal. So John is seeing things that are literally in heaven. I'll read one more thing before we're almost out of time again. It says, St. John sees the souls only of the martyrs, since their bodies will not be reunited. I'm going to start over. St. John sees the souls only of the martyrs, since their bodies will not be reunited with their souls until the judgment day. Meanwhile, the souls rest in peace, yet in expectation of the final accomplishment of their perfect bliss, which the words used in verse 10 show them to desire. Wordsworth, which was also a commentator, quotes, as illustrating this passage, Tertullian, "The souls of martyrs repose in peace under the altar and cherish a spirit of patience until others are admitted to fill up their communion of glow." And Irenaeus said, "The souls of the departed go to the place assigned them by God, and there abide until the resurrection, when they will be reunited to their bodies, and then the saints, both in soul and body, will come into the presence of God." So I thought this was worth exploring. I know there's dispute about the two altars in Revelation, and you might be thinking, why are we even talking about that? Well, because I want you to understand the significance of the types and shadows that we have in the Old Testament, because these things are still going on in heaven as we speak. And the golden altar, the altar burnt offering, those are all the pattern. Those are in heaven. And the golden altar has relevance to what will be coming prophetically in the day of the Lord's return. So I just want to give you that foundation of the golden altar and the altar burnt offering, because you'll see later how that all applies to our relationship with God, and what the altar of incense is all about. I hope that makes sense. I'm really trying to make this presentation so that it's something that you have a takeaway and you can apply it to your life. So just tuck that into your mind until next time, because we will get even more involved in this altar of incense. You're going to be amazed. I'm just going to say that the things that are coming up in the next episodes are just amazing, but you do need the foundation to get there. Anyway, thanks again for joining me. I really appreciate your time and attention. Please share this out if there's people that that could use it to strengthen their relationship with God and to give them kind of a track to run on, to really have the best relationship they can, because this is a journey that God has put all of us on if we have truly surrendered to Him. Thanks again for joining me, and we'll see you next time. God bless.